Good afternoon and welcome to Muralist Spotlight. I'm your host, Naja Springer. Today, we are going to be discussing the interconnectivity and oneness of all and everything, a celebration of color, an absolutely beautiful mural painted in 2020 by visual artist Andréa Grasso, located on Sherwin-Williams at 827 Spring Garden Street in Poplar. Today, we are going to be speaking to Andréa about his mural, his process, and the inspiration behind it. Andréa, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so amazing to see you.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, I just have a few questions I'm going to ask you today.
hmm
Firstly, would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself, your pronouns, and your background in art?
yeah, sure. So my pronouns are he or they. I've been doing art, my whole life. I'm like one of those people that was into like cartoons and comic books when they were a kid, and then that eventually manifested in going to art school, like studying graphic design, and I got an undergrad basically focusing on what I call public art, but it was like painting and if people know social practice art. It's like another like new genre of art,
Wow.
and that was kind of what I focused on. And then I moved to Philly and got involved with mural arts, like at first as an intern, and then like kind of ran the gambit of like being an assistant and like, production artist, and then kind of dipped out for a bit, and then came back and have been doing like a mix of lead art project and also some like project management and curating too.
Awesome.
So wear a lot of different hats. It's always fun.
That's so cool to hear. So, my second question is, could you talk to us about your inspiration and the process that you went into creating this mural?
So, I mean, this project was kind of an interesting one. It kind of pivoted. I was originally going to like manage a project, and that kind of fell through. And then I convinced like Mural Arts to just let me do a project on the building, basically. And um, being that it was Sherwin-Williams, and this is also like the Sherwin-Williams that Mural Arts uses the most, and like
Mhm.
they know a lot of people from Mural Arts and all these things. And um, it's a paint store, and there was like this old sports mural on there from like 25 years ago that was
Okay.
kind of faded and like not looking good. And um, so I just kind of had the idea to do something involving color theory and working with the fact that it's a paint store, and like to be something that's just very the antithesis of what was there, which was like a heavy black background sports mural,
Mhm.
um and it's a kind of weird block at like dead ends at the back end, and the mural is a block long, but because not many people go to the back side, I wanted it to be like more focused on the spring garden side,
Mhm.
because a lot of people might not walk back that way necessarily, so it'd be something you would only see from the one angle for the most part. um so it starts in the back, and it's like less detailed and like simpler colors, like basically primary colors and larger shapes. And then as it progresses and flows through the block, through the space, the shapes get more complex. There's more interactivity between the lines and the forms, and the colors also get more complex at the same time. So like primaries mix into secondary colors, tertiary colors, and kind of just builds up and gets crazier, and then eventually just like breaks, and there's this like grayscale kind of burst thing at the end.
Mhm.
um and just kind of the differences between pigment color, light color, just kind of celebrating color. That's
Yeah, I
where that comes
love
from.
that. It's absolutely beautiful, and I've seen it before my walks in Spring Garden. It's just so bright and it's so eye catching. So this is such a beautiful mural, and I'm really curious. How long did it take you, from start to finish with the mural?
To design or to paint, or what do you mean?
Both.
Both.
Mhm.
I'm one of these people that really kind of comes up with ideas and runs with them often. Like I don't have a lot of internal processing and revisions. It more just kind of naturally just happens a lot of the time.
Mhm.
So designing can be fairly intuitive and quick for me. Um, and sometimes like this project had, for the size of it, it's like 2,200 square feet or something like that.
Mhm.
And, I like when I was designing it, I was contemplating also like the budget of the project and like didn't want to kill myself by doing all of that.
Yeah.
So I made it intentionally like slightly simpler than it might have been otherwise based on the size of it and, the budget and everything. So it took maybe like 2.5 weeks, I think, to paint the whole thing. And I had two people help me for, a few days here and there. One was an intern and my friend Courtney.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was like fairly fast. I tend to work fast. I just like enjoy like having, a goal and getting
Yeah.
there. And, it was the middle of summer, so it was brutal out and you just kind of,
Very hot.
yeah, just have an umbrella on the top of the scaffolding and you try and take siestas and like do whatever you can do to
Wow, that
not
sounds
die.
like an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like most muralists know what that's like, but I don't know if, people think of that when they see people up there in the
Mhm.
summer and stuff like that. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. So our next question, and this is something that I think would benefit a lot of artists. What advice would you give to an aspiring young artist?
Well, so everyone was an aspiring young artist at some point,
Mhm.
so that's relevant. I think one of the biggest things is just to stick with it. And I don't know, like I feel like I've seen this, like all the people that have been like, we'll talk about mural specifically, I guess, but like a
Mhm.
lot of the more popular artists in Philly that have been doing it for a long time have been doing it for a long time. And it's like it's hard to say, chicken or the egg, but sometimes I think just people that kind of stick with it, like,
Mhm.
name recognition is a thing, like all these things can just more easily kind of fall into your lap when you are trusted, when you've done more projects and all these
Mhm.
things. And I don't know, and kind of tied on that too, I think one thing that I see a lot, and everyone has different goals, I guess, when they do art. And like, I used to do production work, and then when I started freelancing, I would do like whatever I could get, like
Mhm.
not necessarily stuff I wanted to do, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And those aren't like the most fulfilling projects, but they pay the bills, and so like kind of finding that balance and also knowing when to stop doing that, I think is important. Cause like
Mhm.
if you do that stuff long enough, you're just might get like pigeonholed into like doing that and like being, people will see your work and all these examples will be like a style that isn't necessarily yours. It's just
Yeah.
like stuff people wanted, not what you wanted. So
Mhm.
it's like thinking of it as like, is it your art or are you like helping other people, and different
Mhm.
people like doing different things, but I think it's good to like think about what you want to do and like put that in the back of your mind when you're taking or declining projects, which is totally fine.
Yeah. Setting your boundaries is
Yeah.
extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
But I guess that's about it.
Okay, that's really, really amazing to hear. And I do hope that inspires other artists out here in Philadelphia and across the country. So, another question I have, where
Mhm.
can we find your work on social media?
So, well, I do have a website, which, not, I guess everyone has, but which is my name,
Mhm.
agrasso.art. But on Instagram, that's the only one I use. I'm at agrasso, AGRASSO underscore artistica. um,
Well, you heard that.
and
Mhm.
I'm sure you'll put a link to that somewhere. But
Yes, yes, we
uh,
heard that. We're going to put a link below so you can go on and follow him. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be interviewed for this month's Muralist Spotlight. I had an amazing time speaking to you, and I always love hearing the artistic process behind things. So I feel very nice. And I hope that you have an amazing day, okay?
all right. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye everyone. Until next time.